And good morning. This is the Falcons Podcast. We are live on X, Facebook, and YouTube. So we got the whole Meta family going today. It is Monday. It is a brisk but going to be beautiful fall November, first November Monday in the Southeast. Going to be a gorgeous day. Yesterday we did a gut reaction. That's kind of the emotional take. This is the aftermath show, the day after. We've had roughly 20 hours to sleep on it and think about it. We're still a little pissed off about how things are going for sure, but we're going to dive into things and be able to get a little bit more into some of the right answers for the questions. Like, what about J.D. Bertrand? What about Ronnie Harrison? What about trades? What happened here? We've had a little chance to sleep on that and get into it. And then we'll get a first take from Nick Kendall, who was not on the emotional show while we aired our grievances yesterday during the gut reaction. So, Nick, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing pretty good. Summit's here. Just got back from Estes Park this last weekend. I hung out with the parents, and Estes Park is where the Stanley Hotel is, Scott, which is where Stephen King had his fever dream. Is what it's based on. So they go all out for Halloween. It's pretty like a spooky, fun place in the mountains out there. So we would go all the time. It was just 6-year wedding anniversary. We also got married out in Estes Park, so hung out with that. And unfortunately, the Birds and the Falcons were on at the same time, so I couldn't really pay full attention to the Falcons when they were live. But I did go back and watch it, and I'm secondhand frustrated as well. I get it. I mean, what do we talk about when the kicker made 3 for 3 and these are just by the skin of your teeth, or whatever the phrase is, and kind of comes home to roost. But yeah, a lot of things to get into, and I feel the anger in the chat. Fire Raheem and Zach Robinson. I understand the anger.
Yeah, the overall take of it was this is an acceptable. You're never happy after a loss, but it's not apocalyptic, I think was one of the words I used. If you weren't 5-10 in your previous 11 games, and if you had taken care of business in the games you were favored on, but the Falcons are 0-3 in games they're favored in. And they were 3-1 as underdogs going into yesterday. And then they lost yesterday, of course, in a game they feel like they shouldn't have. And why might you feel like you shouldn't have lost this game? Well, I'm glad you asked. Since I put it in the title, Atlanta Falcons keep finding new and historic ways to lose. Got a couple of stats. Mike Conti, our friend over at 93, I'll call it Z93 until I die. 92.9 the game. Put up the stat in the last 10 seasons. Teams were 64-0. As in how many points did you score against Carolina? 0, as in 0 losses. 64-0 when they were +2 or better on turnovers and +5 or better on sacks in the last 10 years. Until today. You know what the name of this team is? The Atlanta Exceptions. Because whenever we talk about a team that was, there was a 99% win rate until the exception pops up. It was the Atlanta Falcons, wasn't it? How'd you know? Lucky guess. And this isn't a new statistic. This is from Mike again on X. Since the start of the 1964 season, teams that were +2 in turnovers, the Falcons were +2 or better, +5 in sacks. He got sacked at least once. They had 6 sacks. So they were +5 in sacks exactly.
Sack differential. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're 96.9 since 96.4, and it's not just a little sample size we're talking about. 504 wins to 17 losses. The Falcons find a way to lose. And what did I hear from Raheem Morris other than if I had a nickel for every time he said, obviously, I could buy his contract out. Finding a way. It was a broken record yesterday. He said nothing. I'm like, let me grab some comments. I'll post them on the site. Find a way. We got to find a way. We got to find a way to win. And the more uncomfortable he is, the faster he talks. We got to find a way. That's what we do. That's our job. We got to find a way. We didn't find a way this time, so we got to find a way next time. We're going to go back to work. This team's together. We're very confident, so we're going to find a way. And we find a way. That's what we do. Find a way to lose. Find a way to lose. Find new and interesting and historic ways to lose. Why? Why is it always the Falcons on this, man? Nick, and I always think the meme, Chad was like, what happened last week? And my friend over that runs the Broncos, like, what happened? I'm like, all I can think of is the meme of James, whatever his name is, from Spider-Man, standing on the getting lynched with a big smile on his face and a rope around his neck saying, First time?
Yeah. Have you watched that show? That's the Ballad of Buster
I don't know
Scruggs.
what it is.
It's pretty fun. It's a little like short, like Western. They do a bunch on it. It's on Netflix. Worth watching. But yeah, no, the Falcons finding new and excruciating ways to lose. I saw Carrie. I haven't seen. Oh, she's in the chat. Hey, Carrie. And talking about the kicker. I'm like, hey, at least the Jags kicker broke the all-time kicking record yesterday. But he had a 68.
Bro in Jacksonville's hitting 68-yard chip shots, and we can't make extra points in Atlanta.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's the margins, man, and the margins matter in the game of the NFL where parity is so close. There is so much parity. So yeah, it's extremely frustrating. I got this also from an online account named Savion Mixon. I don't know how accurate it is, but it's what's the word?
Oh, Savion's a friend of the show. He's done some. I think he actually has written on SI at one point before I had it, and he may have been when Terrence Moore had the site. He may have written for them, and I think
has a good stat here.
Savion's he's a fan of he's a friend of the show.
And his bio is dude who writes, so lines up. He says in games where teams have forced 6 sacks, forced 2 takeaways, thrown 3 passing touchdowns, and committed 0 turnovers, teams were 44-0 since 1964. Well, now they're 44-1, and also doing so and holding the Patriots to just 3 points in the second half. I mean, it's infuriating. It kind of shows. I guess the positive takeaway here is that you're kind of close in some things. You dial some things right. You have a lot of talent. Drake London is a superstar in the league, but it doesn't feel good losing a game like this to a potentially phony Patriots team. But you guys won almost all the stats. Scott, there is one stat though. I always like to go back to the box score and talk about these key parameters.
Yeah, so let me set you up because I know the answer to this. Wait a minute. Okay. So Nick? How is it possible? How do you lose this game then?
Yeah, there is one stat that is a massive discrepancy. Your third down conversion rate. I mean, oh my God, to go 1-10. The Patriots going, I mean, not, 8 for 12 is also like horrific, but 1 for 10 is terrible. Typically, you're going to see around 50%. So 8 for 12 is really bad, but 1 for 10. Now, you did salvage
8 for 12 is really good. You're
8 for 12 is
yourself
good.
Up here.
Yeah.
They're on it's really bad against. That's what you're saying, Nick. It's really bad against on your defense. That they were 8 for 12. That's bad for the Falcons defense. Yeah, 75% clip. Actually, 8 for 12 is 4 divided by 2 divided by 3. 66% clip. Yeah. It's really bad for your defense. It's really great for them, but 1 for 10 is horrific. It's horrific.
God awful. The other stats, I mean, typically, your takeaways, your sack differential, those would point to a win for a team, but going 1 for 10 when you have Drake London, when you have Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts, I mean, all of these different it's I don't even know what to say. That's a quarterback stat. It's a Zach Robinson stat. It's probably the one that's the blinking red light. 1 for 10 is terrible, and then to go 8 for 12 on the other side, they're staying on the field, and you're getting off very quickly. It shows itself in the time of possession as well, 34 minutes to 20 minutes, and then also your total plays. Patriots run 12 more plays. You got to stay on the field in third down. You got to get off the field in third down, and boom, here it is. Other than the kicker, of course, but I think Raheem Morris also mentioned it's never just one thing. The third down differential, third down conversion differential is the one that was the big difference in the game. Yep. The widest discrepancy in the two teams.
And again, we've talked about when the difference. There's a difference between playing in a pressure situation. Michael Penix is really good. And when he drops back, not thinking and throwing and relax and just letting his talent take over, fourth quarter comeback, he's really good. When he has someone in his face, when he is being pressured, he's not really good at it. And I'm not saying this is all on Michael Penix. This is about making sure that Michael Penix knows where to go with the ball before the ball is even snapped. Getting from really quickly to a hot read to a second read, and that's it. That's all you got time for. Recognition. If you're not comfortable in the offense, that's not going to happen. It's obvious he's not comfortable in the offense. That's obvious. There's a lot of blame to go around here, and the first guy that's out the door for me is Zach Robinson, not Michael Penix. So let's be clear on that. There's, like I said, it's not a binary world out there. Two things can be true at once. These guys need to improve, and the situation around them can suck. Both things can be true at the same time. Want to say hello to some folks who have come in with some super chats and some support for the show, like Dwan Freeman here, coming in big early with this with the bright orange super chat. Says, good morning all. Until this organization is not run like a fraternity, we will never win. Coaching choices, roster moves, tolerance of performance. We've protected a culture that has crushed us. Good team, wrong environment. And Dwan, you've heard me this year, the bad C word for me. Last year, the bad C word for me was comfort. This year, now it's culture. And it's kind of the same thing. People are too comfortable in the culture. And it pisses me off. I know it pisses you off as fans that people are too comfortable in there. They took a step in the right direction this year. Don't get me wrong. It's not all bad. They took a step in the right direction this year, getting rid of Jimmy Lake, bringing in Jeff Ulbrich, and bringing in more competition. That's the C word I like, bringing in more competition on defense. It has shown. It is shown out there. Shown. I'd have to ask Google on that one. The defense is playing so much better. Are they a perfect unit? Of course not. You don't do that one season. Have they improved dramatically? Yes, dramatically. They have improved by bringing in competition and being more aggressive. I want to see that from top to bottom, man. I want to see it from top to bottom. There's going to be some accountability. I'll be absolutely floored if Parker Romo is still kicking the ball for the Falcons next week. And, I think someone came in. I forgot who it was. One of our regulars that we didn't see yesterday. Oh, it was Greg Custom Kicks. Good morning, Greg. Said it's not all on Parker. And I said that yesterday. No, this whole thing isn't all on him any more than it's all on the guy that kicks the game-winning field goal. That would have just tied the game against the Patriots and possibly sent it to overtime. It's not all on him, but it's a symptom of a greater problem that people are too freaking comfortable collecting their checks and Flowery Branch and losing. It's a symptom. Y'all know what promotion and relegation is? That's where in soccer, I love the international parts of soccer. You finish bottom three, you're out. They knock you down a notch in the league. The owner gets punished for putting a bad product on the field, not the fans. Fans do too. But when you got an owner that's comfortable and is watching his $1 billion investment go up to $5 billion while he's raking in money, this is what you get. This is what you get. Comfortable. And I'm tired of it too, Dwan.
Nobody in this organization should feel comfortable right now. I mean, obviously the owner can feel comfortable because there's no worry about the coaching staff. Penix in London should feel comfortable. But I mean, the expectations are rough. The one thing that's unfortunate, Scott, is it does feel like the defense is heading in the right direction. We saw what Drake May has been doing this season, MVP, and to only, quote unquote, give up 24 points when the offense is 1 for 10 on third down is not horrific by any means. I mean, 24 is probably league average, but that was a tough ask against a quarterback who's playing really good football. I do want to get a little bit more to the super chats here, of course, Scott, but I did want to point out one more talk that I had, and it's the same one every week. Why are we not leaning into Bijan Robinson way more than we are? It's not like the game was 21-0 immediately. I mean, the worst you fell behind, it was 21-7, but you score a touchdown on 2 plays after that, after you have a Drake May fumble. So you get back to 14, but you run the ball in this one. Just an exceptionally smaller clip, even though you're running it more efficiently than the Patriots are. You have a good offensive line. You're going 1 for 10 on third down. Maybe part of that's leaning into it because you're getting to those longer passes, but drop back 37 times compared to just 16 rush attempts. I'm sorry. Is this a team that has Bijan Robinson in the backfield with 16 rush attempts? Now, I mean, he didn't even have 16 because he had it split with Algier as well, but that's unacceptable. 12 carries for 46 yards. Now, I know it's only 3.8, but
Algier only had 2.
Yeah. You have to protect your quarterback, though, and I understand that with the way the defense has been, maybe it's not been as much of a strategy, but the defense is at least, I think, competent. Now you should be running the football more than Bijan Robinson, top 3 running back in the NFL, getting 12 carries. Now, he did get 8
Here's where I'm going to disagree with you on usage, Nick, a little bit, just because, again, I think they're too predictable with Bijan, and they're getting themselves in third situations. So, yes, it was only 12 carries. That's not enough. He needs 20 carries. However, they were using him out of the backfield more. So he had 10 targets, which was the second
He had a lot
most
of
10 targets. So if he's got 22 targets, 22 potential touches,
yeah,
they were only 1 for 10 on third down.
Mm-hmm.
So that was 42% of the plays were going to Bijan Robinson. That's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah.
The problem is
I still think
they're too predictable with it. They're not getting first downs, and they only had 56 offensive plays. That's the problem. And, if you're running 68 plays the way that New England did, you run 68 plays and you're getting 40%, he gets another 4 touches. He's got 26 touches in a game, potential touches with the receptions as well. And he caught 8 of those targets. So he had 20 touches. You're talking 25 or 26 touches a game. That's plenty. That's a lot.
That's plenty.
That's a lot. So the percentage-wise, the problem is they're too predictable in offense and they're not converting on third down, so they're not getting enough plays. And Tyler Algier only gets 2 touches. So there aren't enough touches going around, period, because they're 1 for 10 on third down. Mm-hmm. They're trying to implement Bijan Robinson plenty. They're just so predictable in doing it that they're not able to convert for third downs. That's my take on the situation.
I still want him to be leaned on, and the run game specifically more. I'm looking at the overall run sample.
I think that's a good point. You gave up on the run game too early. You said, they're really good at stopping the run. Run it anyway.
If it's a one-score game, anyway. You got to stand to it.
I put in writing yesterday, Drake London is open. Mm-hmm. If they're going to put 8 in the box, you got single coverage on Pitts or London.
Yep.
Throw them out there wide. You're going to get a pass interference. You're going to get a completion, sometimes both, or an incompletion. And you're going to back those guys off a little bit. Mike says, is Raheem Morris going to get a third year? Keep the defensive staff, with the exception of Dwayne Ledford. You got to replace the entire offensive staff and special teams coach. So the only offensive guy he wants to keep is Ledford. And I think Ledford's really, really good. Again, you lost Matthew Bergeron in the first series, and did you notice? Not really. That's incredible. Oh, we didn't touch on this. I did a members only video on this, and thanks for being a member, Mike. When I found out after we went off live, is Chris Lindstrom went out. We don't know how long he's going to be out now. Chris Lindstrom, I'm like, now I would have been absolutely apocalyptic if I had known that Chris Lindstrom was out while we were doing the show yesterday. I would have been like, just change it all now. Fire sale anybody that you can trade that isn't a long-term part of your plans, and start drawing up your list of coaches and general managers. That would have been the last straw for me if we find out Lindstrom is out too, for God's sakes. Because Mike follows up, with the exception of Dan Reeves, who blank didn't hire. He's never fired any coach after 2 years. What makes anybody believe that he will change? Okay, this is where I want to get into this, Mike, real quick. Because you're right. Hasn't done it after 2 years. But with the exception of Arthur Smith, who came in and we'll all admit was a disaster of a roster and salary cap situation in 2021 and overachieved with those teams.
Yes, he did.
I don't think anybody, and let's think of it this way, Mike, I don't think anybody's gotten a third year after 2 losing seasons. So let's roll back. That's my seat of the pants thought process on this. Jim Mora was fired after 1 losing season. They were 11-5, 8-8, 7-9. Mike Smith went 4. No, Mike Smith, he was fired after his 2nd losing season. They were 13-3 in 2012. He went 4-12 the next year, 6-10 the year after that. So he had run his course in 6 or 7 years. And Dimitrov should have been fired with him. He had an unbalanced team, crap offensive line, crap defense. Dimitrov should have been fired with him. And then Quinn, they let him talk Quinn into getting the beginning of the 3rd season. The fans, the players went and said, it's our fault. And he should have been fired after going 7-9 and 7-9. He wasn't. He was fired after going 0-5 and blowing a couple more games. So Quinn got part of a 3rd season after having 2 losing seasons. So that's where you start to think of that. No coach that he's hired has gone 3 straight years other than Arthur Smith. And frankly, the first one was a wash for me. he was fired after woefully underachieving in 2023. Is that how you would describe this staff? Woefully underachieving? If they're 3-5 and they finish 7-10, my answer to that is yes. And if they woefully underachieve, their heads are on the chopping block. Hopefully I don't get flagged by YouTube for saying that. If they're woefully underachieving after 2 years, they're in trouble. That's what makes me think the situation was different for Raheem Morris coming in than it was for Arthur Smith in 2021. Raheem Morris was brought in to win right away. And 2 straight losing seasons is going to be a problem.
Yeah, and also you don't see the leaps and bounds from the quarterback. I mean, at the end of the day, we've said it how many times on here. It comes down to the franchise's direction. Everything comes down to the direction of Michael Penix and hitting on that quarterback. And while obviously he's had a fine, time, he's been good, but it's not like this leaps and bounds guy where you don't want to sever that Morris and Penix relationship because you might mess with something there. Right now, it's the offense is disconjointed. I think we can call it that. We've seen Kurt Warner complaining about we don't know what the ideas are here, the spacing or anything, Scott. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. And Penix is a fine young quarterback in a class that's coming out to say that's not the best at quarterback. So maybe a head coach would like to come to Atlanta. Now, granted, you don't have that first round pick this year to kind of stamp where you want to go, but we saw Walker and Pierce, have a good game coming up here. In this upcoming class, there are some good edge rushers, but I think Pierce would probably find himself in the top 12, 15 of the class. Now, granted, he was probably that level of talent last year, but we had some off-field concerns. But
that's okay. So did Randy Moss and Warren Sapp.
That's true. And you never know, though, right? It's always a coin flip.
I know. I'm teasing.
Yeah. I did want to ask one more thing here, Scott, and I don't have the stats directly in front of me, but just overarching that maybe is holding the offense back some, and it's not necessarily I'm not trying to make excuses for Zach Robinson, but it's something that I watch what the Seahawks are doing. I watch what the Rams are doing, and some quarterbacks just are not comfortable under center. They're not comfortable with their back as much to the line of scrimmage in the play action game. And right now, what we're seeing that's working in the NFL, it's not necessarily teams that are throwing it around the yard, but they're running out of 12 personnel, and they don't even have to be a good rushing team, but they give the threat of the rush 12 personnel under center play action, and that's how you're getting base defense on the field and a lot of one-on-ones vertically. Penix coming out of Indiana, Washington, not a lot of under center play, not so much the play action. It's almost, not to be too hard on Penix, but it almost nullifies some of the effect of Bijan Robinson if you are not playing the under center play action game as much, because he is a threat. Teams are triggering downhill, loading the box. But if you're constantly shot with it, it's a little bit harder. Now you can work some like power concepts with shotgun, but I do think you're taking off the feeling of your offense if you're not utilizing the under center play action game to some extent, based on what we're seeing across the league right now. And that's something that Penix hasn't really shown a propensity to do. I don't know if that's a Zach Robinson thing or if it's him trying to make the offense fit what Penix does best, but that is something that this offseason, just in general with where the league is going, we need to see more of going forward and next season. He's got to get comfortable because you are.
Yeah, I don't have the answer for that. I don't think it's overly difficult to become comfortable under center. Take 1,000 reps under center and roll out and get back. It's not hard. I mean, it's basic. It's quarterback 101. It's not overly difficult. You mentioned 12 personnel. 12 personnel is 2 tight ends. Who's our barometer for wins on this team? Who do we look at and say if he's played X amount? So the number is 60% for Charlie Warner. Charlie Warner had 9 snaps. 9. I think it was 9. Maybe it was 9%. It may have been 5 snaps. Charlie Warner had 5 snaps. Apologies. It was 9%. Charlie Warner played 5 snaps. The people who took his snaps were David Sills and Tyler Algier. Tyler Algier did not take Bijan Robinson's snaps. Bijan stayed on the field for almost the entire game. When Tyler would come on, he would come on for David Sills. And Charlie Warner did not come on at all. So the Falcons are now 0-5 when Charlie Warner gets less than 60% of the snaps, and he had 5. He had 9% in this game. Why is he so key on this? Because it means you're running the ball. You're dedicated to running the ball. And, he's not much of a receiving threat. Darnell Mooney was on the field for all but 2 or 3 snaps, he had 1 target. What is he bringing to your offense? What is Darnell Mooney bringing you to the offense if you're not getting the ball in his hands? Nothing.
Maybe
0.
some spacing. Maybe some spacing. That's about it. Like,
I did Charlie Warner line up in the slot and run down the seam 3 or 4 times just to put some pressure on the backside. Nothing. Darnell Mooney was a big fat 0 for this team. David Sills has played 200 snaps. He's got 3 catches for 23 yards. Those were the 2 receivers that played 70% of the snaps out there. You played a 3-man game with Drake London, Kyle Pitts, and Bijan Robinson, and you put 2 zeros at wide receiver. You're playing 9 on 11, and you're wondering why you're having trouble converting third downs. There's part of it right there. You're playing 9 and 11 and abandoning the running game. Wow. That's harsh. Am I wrong, though?
I don't think so. I don't think you're wrong. I did see a comment from Maurice Bonney, who's a member here, said they didn't run under center when Cousins was quarterback as a coordinator. Cousins was on one leg, and I don't think
that was the excuse they used. But now what's the excuse?
The excuse would be Penix isn't comfortable with it.
Or
but I think you have to get into it.
Make him comfortable. Your job as a coach is to get him comfortable. Because this isn't working. This isn't working.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I mean, you did have 3 touchdown passes to Drake London. The 1 for 10 is not good, but if it's not working and Cousins is, throwing interceptions because it's back to the line of scrimmage, it's going to be right around, well, why is Zach Robinson not Penix in position where he's comfortable for the young quarterback? So
put him in the shotgun.
Again,
you can go 2 wide. I can put Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson. I can flank him wide. Why does it have to be the pistol? And why am I running 80% of the time out of the pistol?
Mm-hmm.
Man, if I'm in your playbook, I got a pretty good chance of stopping you. If I know what you're running on 1st and 10, I got a pretty good chance of making it 2nd and long. And that's assuming no penalties. Curtis Case, thank you for being a member, my friend. He says, good morning, Scott, Nick, and Falcons Nation. That's all y'all. Raheem Morris and Zach Robinson are around next year. We just squandered a first-round talent development because of them. Zach Robinson will not be here next year. The shelf life on offensive coordinators is 2 years. I'll be absolutely floored if he's still around. And right now I'm leaning towards I'll be pretty damn surprised if Raheem Morris is still around. If they're still around, it means they turn it around in a big way and Michael Penix became a star. And if Penix becomes a star in the second half of this season, Zach Robinson will get some head coach interviews. Somewhere. Might be college.
Mm-hmm.
But the shelf life on OCs is 2 years. And then typically a change is made one way or another. But yeah, I mean, again, this isn't an emotional thing. It's gone down. And why would Morris just get 2 years? Because the circumstances were different. They were absolutely different than when typically Falcons fire their coach and the team is in the dumpster.
Yeah.
This was a team that was set up to win.
Yep.
They were a quarterback away. They just spent $100 million on free agents in 2023, spent another $100 million in 2024 on the quarterback and then didn't back him. But that's a different story. Came in. They were supposed to win. They're 3-5. They're 5-11 in their last 16 games, Nick. A loss against Indianapolis, and in a 17-game season, the last 17 games are 5-12. That's fireable. It is. That's fireable.
Yep.
So on that, good to see you,
I
Curtis.
did want to get to one more point about the personnel usage, Scott. Just EPA, where we're at right now, teams are way higher in the pass offense when you're at 12 personnel with the 2 tight ends. We're actually also seeing teams, because they don't have 2 good blocking tight ends, we've had this season rate of 6 offensive line on the field, heavy packages from the offense we've ever seen in the NFL. So teams are really trying to figure out, offenses specifically, how do we force defenses out of nickel and dime to the point where they're sacrificing a pass catcher on the field to make sure that you get into base.
What are the Falcons doing instead? They're putting out there with Darnell Mooney and David Sills and going 11 package with 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, and 1 running back. They're playing into the strength of the defenses is what they're doing.
And if
what
you
the defenses have been successful at historically, they're playing into strength. Nick, you and I have been doing this long enough. This is our 5 years together where I've said it's cyclical. You are seeing that cycle come back around now where they're getting bigger and they're bully ball is coming back into is becoming fashionable again. Defenses will adjust and then they'll go wide and go down the field a little bit more. But bully ball is becoming fashionable again. And Arthur Smith developed a bully ball team with the Atlanta Falcons. Didn't have a quarterback to run it. And now they're going 11 personnel with 2 receivers that can't play. It's 9 on 11 with injuries on your offensive line.
Yeah.
It's 9 on 11. And your best blocking tight end is sitting on the bench. That's the kind of stuff that pisses me off.
And if you were running
those
the
are
ball
premeditated decisions. Those are game planning.
Yep. If you were running the ball like the Eagles were last year, out of your light 11, 10 personnel, that'd be one thing, right? Because that's still effective and explosive enough that even if the offense is struggling, the defense is not balancing, but you're not running the ball that way. And that's not necessarily the personnel's fault. I mean, what the Eagles did last season was rare from a rush personnel and effectiveness perspective, but it just doesn't make sense with where the league is at right now and how teams are creating explosives in the pass game.
And 2 big differences there, Nick. 2 big differences is they have a scrambling quarterback, and they're an automatic first down on 3rd and 2. They're an automatic first down. I promise you, since Jalen Hurts has been at Philadelphia Eagles, they do not have a 1 for 10 third down percentage. They don't.
No way.
They absolutely don't. Jed Jones, good to see you. Thanks for the super, my friend. He says, good morning, team. That's everybody here. It's all y'all too. He says, overall, it was a good game. Where is Rodrigo Blankenship, the bispectacled kicker from the Georgia Bulldogs? Or do you think Lenny Craig is the answer? I know Parker Romo ain't. He went like 6 for 6 last year. Was it with the Vikings? And they immediately got rid of him as soon as their kicker got healthy again. They dustbinned him. The Falcons had Younghoe Koo, who struggled mightily last year after an injury, lost his confidence, may not ever get it back. And the competition they brought in was a guy that had never kicked in the NFL in Lenny Craig. The competition they brought in for them was a guy who had 6 kicks in the NFL. There's guys out there. There's absolutely kickers out there that have some experience that aren't going to just choke. There's no other way to put it. I mean, that's what it is. Again, there's a billion guys that can kick 50-yard field goals. It's not that difficult a skill anymore. They're kicking 70-yarders, for God's sakes. There's thousands of them. On the high school level, there's thousands of them. Finding a guy that can do it in front of 60,000 people with your job on the line is much, much harder. And the only way to do that is to either give them a chance and watch them succeed or fail, Parker Romo, or find a guy who's done it before. Everybody can make a 3-foot putt. It's not hard. The whole freaking world can do it. Can you do it at the Masters with the game with the match on the line? No, you're going to fold. Kicking it's mental as much as it is anything, and finding the guys that are mentally strong, because it's a mother of a position. This is the best team sport in the world, and this is the one thing that comes down to the individual is kicking. And I've said before, Nick, and then I'll move on. The rules have to change, dude. I mean, you're 1 first down away from being in field goal range. The rules are going to have to change. The kicking game's out of hand. I mean, when you're kicking field goals from your own 42-yard line, raise the bar, narrow the bar, something. But something's got to change. You're getting touchbacks to the 35, and you're a 7-yard rushing play away from being in field goal range. That's not what this game was meant to be.
Let's make a little funhouse game. Let's look at the moving, kind of like a carnival game or something. No,
something's going to have to change. Or raise the bar, narrow them. Something's going to have to change. It's silly. It's absolutely silly at this point.
Yeah.
Red Swarm, good to see he's come in with a back-to-back ones. Red Swarm has. Says, good morning, Scott and Nick. Is it possible to separate Fontenot and what he has done as GM from Raheem and Z-Rob and what they've done? And then I'll hit this one. It's possible, and a lot of people want to do it. So if we talk about this and I say I think there's got to be a clean slate, 5 years as a general manager. I want my general manager and my coach to come in together. 5 years as a general manager without a winning season is a lifetime. And the way I've tried to explain this to people, I've said if I had interviewed for that job in January of 2021 and said, this is my 6-year plan, we're going to lose for 5 years, and then the 6th year we're going to win, I never would have gotten the job. So why should I keep the guy who has had that type of unsuccess, failures over the past 7 years, not to mention some of the controversial, unorthodox drafting and moves that they've done in the last 5 years that have then not paid off with winning seasons? Terry Fontenot's done some good things. The team is in a much better position than it was, but it's supposed to be when you're losing all the time. You're supposed to be able to acquire talent. Getting good players in the top 10 does not impress me. So I think Terry Fontenot, I don't know why you would keep him around other than the fact, Nick, this is the parallel I drew. If I had a draft pick, Kyle Pitts, and in his 5th year, the young draft pick becomes who I thought he was going to be when I took him at number 4, and now I got an all-pro. I'd want to re-sign him, right? Well, Terry Fontenot has shown improvement. I don't think there's any doubt in that. His drafting has done good. I also feel it's too little too late. And he was a young first-time GM, so this is me going back and forth in my own brain with this argument. I think Terry Fontenot is a much better GM now than he was in 2021. Isn't that the time to keep him? That's the argument. And I understand both sides. Trust me. I do, y'all. I get it.
It's hard to say. I mean, you talk about like Morris as well. From where we're sitting, maybe he gets another year. It really, like those kind of decisions, you have to be in the locker room and seeing the operation, how people are responding to them. Do you have the buy-in? How hard are they, attacking each rep? It's hard to say from here. Obviously, the product on the field isn't good enough, but if you have good process, you hope at the end of the day, results will come eventually. And I wouldn't say it's been a fluky season for the but I mean, we did see
the Atlanta flukes. I call them the Atlanta exceptions. The Atlanta flukes works too.
Yeah.
28-3. They lost. Only team ever. Flukes.
Yeah. Flukins. But they've been the defense has taken a big step forward. It's just hard to say from where we're at, but you're right. I mean, 5 losing seasons in a row. GMs typically, because they're program builders, get a longer leash just because it takes longer to see their decisions work out and how the team building process is. But 5 losing seasons in a row, especially when the bar has not been exceptionally hard in the NFC South, is a tough pill to swallow. So, I mean, again, the season's not yet written. How they will play down the stretch, how the young players look is big. And the other part of the coaching or the GM spot, Scott, is he has to answer for the head coaching hires and everything as well. And if Morris is a failure, that's multiple head coach failures now on Fontenot's docket, I guess, as well. So frustrating. I do see, some talks of head coach in here and as well. My point about Michael Penix under center and the heavy personnel stuff and the play action. I saw somebody in here say Clint Kubiak. Again, that's one. Is Clint Kubiak a fit with Michael Penix and what Penix is good at and comfortable with? I don't know. We'll find out. Joe Brady is the other name, obviously, to keep an eye on.
Kubiak, man. Clint Kubiak. Yeah. Where do I find head coaches? I go and find a defensive head coach and find out who's running a successful offense. That's where head coaches come from. Clint Kubiak.
Yeah.
If he's not a head coach next year, something's strange. Mike McCarthy is a good one too. One to Maurice. Thank you for being a member, my friend. How are you doing? He says, we can't make an extra point. Boyd all day. If you've got a good relationship with your wife, this is so, and I've been married 25 years and I would absolutely say this to mine. She says, Scott, my wife is begging me to switch teams. I'm starting to think about it. Think she's not built for this. Okay. Don't switch your wife. But you could ask her dead faced right in the eye. If we weren't getting along for a little bit, would you want me to switch wives? I don't think Nick would be able to say that right now. He'd be out on the house. I've said it before. A Falcons fan is a green flag for a relationship. We've got low expectations and we're ultimately ultra loyal. It's a green flag. It's one of the reasons she chose you. You wouldn't want me to switch if we hit a rough patch, would you?
Patience.
I just got 10 people divorced today, Nick.
The chat's correcting me on this. Arthur Smith predates Terry Fontenot, so that's
no, they don't. They were hired the same year.
The same year was Arthur Smith hired and then Terry.
Arthur
Fontenot?
Smith was hired first, and then Fontenot was hired. It was really strange, but Terry Fontenot did not hire Arthur Smith. He predates him by like a week, but it was the same month. It was the same cycle. They were brought in together, collaborative, and a couple decisions post game we could see, like, okay, who made this decision? Because I think Arthur Smith had ultimate final control over personnel decisions over the first-time GM. And it was a first-time head coach, too. And Arthur Smith, first-time head coach, first-time GM. Didn't work so well, did it? They were hired in the same cycle. So you can say it how you want to. This is predates technically by like 2 weeks, but for all intents and purposes, when we're having this discussion, they were hired at the same time. They were hired at the same time, and they were talking to each other before each of them took the job on that one. So Gerald says the GM hasn't been the issue. Well, there isn't the issue, Gerald. There's multiple issues. And again, like I said, I understand it, but if I'm the general manager and I got 5 straight losing seasons, I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble. I'm keeping my resume updated. And where I would settle on this, you just saw me have the double voices in my head, have this argument on Terry Fontenot. Where I would finally fall on this, I would go back to the beginning of the show where I said culture change. If I'm going to change the culture, it's a clean sweep. I can't keep the general manager if I want to try and shake up 8 straight losing seasons, of which he's been the general manager of 5 of them. I got to shake things up a little bit.
Yeah.
So that's where I would stand on this. But like I said, I can make the argument for Terry Fontenot staying. I really can't for Raheem Morris and Zach Robinson at this point. I can't. I don't see any redeeming qualities in there that said, oh yeah, this is what I've seen. No, yeah. I've seen wasted opportunity. That's what I've seen. I've seen underachieving. I've seen 5-11 with a roster stacked with first-round talent and millions and millions and millions of dollars of free agents. Mm-hmm. That's what I've seen.
I do think there's time for Raheem, but the offensive coordinator, Zach Robinson, time is definitely ticking. It feels like on that one. So we'll see. Still got half the season left to play for, so things can turn around. But what we don't have much time left for, Scott, is the trade deadline coming up here. We are tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern time is the trade deadline. I'll be curious to see what the Falcons do, given it is kind of a sinking ship for this regime, and it's. Do you think they'll stand?
I mean, you bet on no move happening because that's usually the safer bet.
What happens? Yeah.
But again, if Terry Fontenot's on thin ice, and I want to hit this real quick from Let Us Pray Sports, it says we can't blame Terry Fontenot when McKay is the puppet master. That's okay. Do you know what they call the Terry Fontenot in that case? The scapegoat. They still get fired. 5 years in this position, they still get fired. I mean, I can't think of anybody that would have taken over a job and had 5 straight losing seasons to opening it and get a 6th. It's probably the Atlanta exceptions. It would probably be the Atlanta exceptions. Trade deadline. They need to be sellers. Can Terry Fontenot sell? Can he punt on this team? Can he sell Tyler Algier? Tyler Algier, I think, has Nick, I think it's 4-4-2 in the last 3 games. That's 10 touches in the last 3 games. What's he here for? I mean, get something while you can. He's more valuable to a team that's headed to the playoffs, and the Falcons don't appear to be in any way, shape, or form that team. They're 3-5, staring 3-6 in the face, staring 5-12 in the last 17. You've given 3 touches a game to Tyler Algier. See if you can get a 5th-round pick for him. You're not getting anything for him in free agency. See if you can get a 5th-round pick for him. You need it. So that's number 1 for me, Nick.
Yeah, he stands out. I will say this upcoming draft looks horrific at running back. So maybe there's a little bit more value there, both if you traded him, but also if you held on to him and you wanted to play the comp pick game. I imagine he gets a decent contract. And again, after Jeremiah Love, this upcoming running back class is not good. Not good at all. It's just last year we saw so many come out. This year, not a good class. So we'll see. I think the one who's the most interesting for me from a trade perspective, Scott, is Kyle Pitts. I know there are already no weapons to go around in the pass game, but I could see somebody giving up for him. Does that, especially
what round you froze up again? What round pick for Kyle Pitts?
Oh, I said 4th round.
4th round.
You probably get a
I'd
4th
probably hold
rounder.
on to him for Kyle for that. And I would still gamble that I could franchise him and trade him for more than that if he wanted to move on over the course of the next year. I would need at least a 3rd to pick up the phone on Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, and maybe you would. Jalen Phillips was just traded. He has an injury history. He
was
lived
traded. He was traded for a 3rd with 6 months left on his contract.
Yep. So maybe you do get a 3rd. Also, again, I've said it on here before. This upcoming draft class is not getting people excited, and we always do this song and dance. But sometimes it's the other way, though. But 2027 seems to be much more interesting in the class. So if any solace for the Falcons fans, not having your 1st round pick next year maybe doesn't hurt as bad, because 2027 looks a little bit more superstar laden. But I think Kyle Pitts is the most interesting one that could be traded. My question for you, Scott, and it would never happen, but let's say the Patriots you just played call you on the phone and they offer you 2 firsts and a 3rd for Drake London. Is there any interest there for that kind of capital, the opposite of the Julio trade?
2 firsts and a 3rd for Drake London. I'd do it. I would,
Man.
knowing where this team is. I would. Knowing that I got $30 million, because it's not just that, it's also the $30 million in free agency that I'm going to be able to spend in the course of the next 4 years. I mean, Drake's probably going to get, if we say 30 on 5, he's probably going to get a 5-year, $150 million deal, $100 million guaranteed. So that would end up being a 3-year, $100 million contract, basically. That's money I could use somewhere else. Plus I have a 1st, and a 3rd. I'd probably do that deal. But again, and there's a lot of people in there that'll say, Scott, you're nuts. This is ridiculous. Drake's a star, and the emotional attachment. And I get it. I am a more type of guy. If I could get for Drake London and the money I would spend and the draft picks I would get, I could get 5 starters. I would probably do that. And I would say, love you, Drake. I think you're amazing. And thank you for being so awesome on a bad team that we were able to get a deal like this that will help us jumpstart it. You're awesome. I probably would. Let me get to this one real quick, though. No. As Rusty says, Arthur Smith was hired before Terry. Yeah, like weeks before. Terry didn't get a chance to choose his head coach. Another example of how dysfunctional we are. What team does that? Actually, Rusty, a lot of teams do that now. There's like whoever's in charge of football operations hires the general manager, hires the coach. And a lot of teams now, the general manager and coach are on the same level of the org chart. That's not uncommon these days. In some cases, the coach / general manager, the general manager works for the head coach, where you've got a Sean Payton, who is basically director of football operations, president of football operations, who answers to the owner. So Terry Fontenot has not hired the head coach. He's the general manager and is in charge of player acquisition. You work with your coaching staff. What do you need? How do you like this guy? Where does he fit? You work hand in hand in order to do that. But having them on the same level of the org chart is not uncommon these days. It's just not. And they came in together. Now, you can technically, it was a week, 2 weeks before, but Arthur Smith and Terry Fontenot came in the same cycle. And it's not uncommon for the general manager not to hire the coach, not anymore. And what the hell's his name? I think it was Terry Fontenot McVay, so I'm calling Terry McVay. Rich McKay had his fingerprints all over that one. There's no doubt about that. So absolutely on that one.
I did want to say though, Scott,
yeah, and Carl says, no, you'd never do that. He says 5 starters doesn't mean they'll be playmakers. No, but if I've got 5 I'm not just talking 5 players. I'm talking first, 3rd, and $30 million gets me 3 $10 million players. 4 of them will be. 4 of them will be. You know, I can help my team more with 2 first-round picks, $30 million in cap money, and a 3rd-round pick than what Drake London is doing. He's not going to catch 3 touchdowns every game. What's he have now? Like 5 on the year? I could build an entire offensive line. I can build an entire defensive line. I can get my other corners. I get 2 more wide receivers. Drake needs help out there. I could get 4 wide receivers for Drake London. So I probably would make that move. And the fact that Drake London is so awesome is how you could get a crazy deal like that. So that's what I would be.
The one thing, Scott, I know I got to get out of here in a second, but when you are trading away Drake London, you're taking away the security blanket for Michael Penix. So that's the factor of like, what does it mean for Penix? Like, I know like health for the team. And if you were the Kirk Cousins team without your young quarterback, or like where the Chiefs were when they traded Tyreek Hill, as far as a new revolution of how they were team building, that's one direction. But I don't know if Penix is there yet. So it's a harder sell for me because of the Penix conversation. But I mean, London is the one that would really change your war chest, I guess, possible if there was a trade, because we know what wide receivers go for, and he would be worth 2 first-round picks for sure.
Yeah, and DWS says, well, then go ahead and sell off Drake, Bates, AK-47, and Pitts. The problem is Drake's worth a ton. An aging safety on a huge contract probably isn't worth as much. You're not getting but maybe a third on that. AK is in the last year of his contract. You'd be lucky to get a 5th or a 6th. And Pitts, you probably only get a 4th. In order to get something back, you have to give up something you don't want to give up. I mean, that's how it works. People are like, oh, my favorite. So this guy sucks. He's overpaid. Blah blah blah. Trade him. Well, you can't trade guys like that, right? Kirk Cousins. You can't trade guys like that. In order to get 2 first-round picks and a third and $30 million in cap relief back, you got to give up a really, really, really good player. So that's where, and that sinus says we just screw up the draft picks, and that's the problem. I understand. And that's part of the Falcons fan mentality. And this isn't blame. This is acknowledgement. Is you've got something. Why would you give up something when they're so bad at getting something? They finally get something right. You want to trade that? I get it. I did.
The other one, Scott, I have to get out of here because it is time. I gotta get some happy go-go juice. But Caden Ellis. Last year of his contract, I know how bad Bertrand looked as well, but he's another one we haven't thrown out at all. And he's been awesome. I would imagine you'd probably get a 3rd-round pick for him as well. Maybe it's a 3rd where you're sending a future 5th back or something. Just kind of, there's teams like to have a certain number of picks so that sometimes there's flipping of capital. But Ellis is another one. We haven't talked about it all. He's awesome with all these teams
Wednesday,
trying to run this.
When you weren't here, I went through those guys on one of the days you missed. We did on Wednesday. Okay. And the other one I said it was Onyemata. Onyemata should be on the who couldn't use a plus defensive lineman, veteran defensive lineman as well.
Yeah, I would imagine you probably only get a 6th or 7th because run pluggers, unless they're like truly freaks, don't get as much value. You can sign those guys a lot of times. Now, granted, teams right now cannot find those guys, but every offseason you can find them. But I think Ellis would be interesting as well. Now, that would be probably sayonara to the defense this season. But we might already be sayonara anyway. So I don't know. Just one I thought would be interesting to throw out there. I do wish, we talk about it on here a lot, Scott, I wish the trade deadline was kicked back another 2 weeks. Just because, like, if you beat the Colts, whole different season still, right? You win 2 in a row, you're back to 500, whole different season. And
you got 3.
I wish it was after week 10, week 11.
3 average to below average teams coming up. Everything's turned around, and then you lay an egg against them. It's that roller coaster ride we've been talking about. Go ahead and get out of here, Nick. Appreciate you stopping in. I'm going to say goodbye to some folks here and get through these. So we'll talk to you later on those. Sometimes I can't tell if y'all are arguing with me or arguing with each other. Where was the comment on here? That was JLT. And I don't know what. Sometimes it brings in your full names and sometimes it doesn't. So apologies. Says you can't have it both ways. You can't say Terry didn't get a chance to hire his coach, but then say Rich McKay is pulling all the strings. Well, actually, that is exactly what people are saying because he didn't get a chance to hire his coach. And I said Rich McKay was pulling all the strings then. When Arthur Smith and Terry Fontenot were hired, Rich McKay absolutely had his fingerprints all over that one. I think this is about the last time Rich McKay will be involved in general manager and head coach hires is the next one. I think he's mostly done. It's hard to tell. It really is. And yes, that is dysfunctional out there. The last week was an absolute embarrassment for the Atlanta Falcons in public speaking. Rich McKay goes on 790 and just, I don't know if they won't let him talk at Flowery Branch. And he had to call up and say, I need to get my voice out there, and just made things worse. Raheem Morris going on the radio saying, I think he went on 680 saying, this is the best offense we've had since 2016. And then basically everything that Zach Robinson had to say at his press conference was just all bad. And this game itself wasn't necessarily bad. Again, they did enough things to put themselves in a position to win 44 out of 45 times. And then it's just frustrating because the Atlanta exceptions find a way to be that 45th team. And what are the key stats on there? The big one is third down conversions. You're 1 for 10 on third down. Why are you 1 for 10 on third down? Because you're not running the ball effectively on first or second down. And you're putting yourselves in third and obvious situations, putting yourself under pressure because they're bringing pressure packages. And Michael Penix has not shown that he has been able to deal with pressure in his face early in his career. So that's why you're 1 for 10. And you're out there playing 9 on 11 because David Sills and Drake and Darnell Mooney do not offer anything right now on the offensive side of the ball. That's how you lose that game. And John, again, we're having this discussion. And remember, these are discussions. This isn't, you're a moron, you decide this. No, I'm arguing with myself. I've got the argument on both. I could, if you make me choose, I could be 51 to 49%. I could make the argument for taking 2 first rounds and a third round pick for Drake London as he's entering a contract year. It's a pretty good return. Chiefs did it with Tyreek Hill. Now, I'm not sure they even got that much out of it. They seem to do okay afterwards because, they're a good organization, got their quarterback in place. But, he says, if they don't have Drake, you don't score. You're not winning anyway. That's kind of the point. Drake can't do it by himself. Am I better off with Drake, or am I better off with the 5 players I can get for Drake? It's amazing. That's how good Drake is. So again, you don't get anything in return of value unless you're willing to give up something valuable. That's what trades are. So that's where it is on that. That's where I come down on that one. Let me see here. Terry says, if we beat the Colts, I'm losing my stuff on Monday. Oh, the Colts. The Colts are a good team right now. They played a bad game yesterday and still had a chance to win it. My goodness. They had 6 turnovers and lost by 7 points in Pittsburgh. And now, that's a winning team. Pittsburgh's a winning team. They're 5-3 on the road, 6 turnovers, and still had a chance to win it at the end and lost 27-20. Did they get all of that out of their system, or was that an indication of what's coming from Daniel Jones? Daniel Jones is mobile. Shane Steichen is smart. This might not be and Jonathan Taylor could go for 200 yards, and they can run the ball, and they got a big old wide receiver that is the AFC version of Mike Evans over there in Michael Pittman. So it'll be an interesting game. We won't have a gut reaction. I will be out of town on that Sunday morning, so we won't have a gut reaction, but we will be back on Monday. T4 Dive Bomb, good to see you. He says, I was at the game yesterday, and Pierce just has a presence to him. He's disruptive. He's him and Walker, and let's get back to it. Walker had his best game as a Falcon, and man, he's been missed when he's not out there. He sets a good edge, and then he's really lightning quick off the edge, and Pierce is just disruptive. He's a disruptive force. You see him standing next to other players, you're like, damn, who's that guy? He's pretty. That's for sure out there. Larry, where is Darnell Mooney? Anybody see him? There were lots of guys out there that saw him. They just didn't see him do anything. What was his snap count? Darnell Mooney played every snap. He played 56 offensive snaps, 100%. And I think he was targeted once. I don't think he had a catch. He had 1 catch for 15 yards on 2 targets. Played every snap. We know he's not blocking. What's he bringing to you out there? David Sills played 68% of the snaps. 1 target on 3rd and 20 on the final drive. 1 target. Like I said, it's not an exaggeration to say they were playing 9 on 11 out there on offense. I don't think that's an exaggeration. And Ski says, Scott, did you see the team body language? They didn't look like they wanted to be there or play. I think it came around quickly. They got off to a bad start. They came back hard. I have no problem with the way the defense played. I have no problem with the way the offense got after it as they were, mounting a comeback. You don't come back in the 4th quarter if you don't want to be out there. I have problem with the first 3 quarters and not putting the team in position to succeed as far as, the predictability of the games. The 1 for 10 on third downs is all about scheming. I mean, it's bad. Offensive line is terrible, says John. Offensive line's a little banged up. They helped out. I think that's where Tyler probably came in. I didn't see. I was like, was that Charlie or was that Tyler? But when Tyler would come in for Sills, he was helping out Jake Matthews on that left side because Chazon was eating his lunch in the first half. That got quiet. The Falcons doubled up their yardage in the second half as opposed to the first half. And then, you're on a third string offensive tackle. You're on a second string. Actually, it might be worse than that. You're probably on your third string left guard as well. When Bergeron went out. Why? Because your second string guard was playing offensive tackle. So you're on your third team left guard, your third team right tackle out there, and you're still moving the ball in the second half. Well, doesn't that mean Robinson, I don't know. I understand some of it with injuries, but there's just so many things out there that are avoidable that make it hard to give anybody the benefit of the doubt. You're getting a delay a game out of a penalty, out of a stop clock situation. That makes that it's one of those things, I tell you all, there's no such thing as being unbiased. Everybody is biased. When you do stupid stuff like that, it makes you question the competence of everything else you see. Everything, they don't get the benefit of the doubt on that. You don't get the benefit of the doubt on the injuries because I see you do too many stupid things. I see too many things that leads me to believe that biases my opinion, that leads me to believe that you aren't good at this. That's what it gets to. So, on that note, I think we're just about to get out of here. Xavier said this question: do you have any insight on future free agent wide receivers and linebackers? If not, feel free to make the question a future show. That's an off-season show. I don't know the rest of the league well enough as far as free agent wide receivers. I bet you a lot of money, though, that Darnell Mooney is going to be a free agent. There's no way. The Falcons, I think, save about $7-8 million next year moving on from him. So Darnell Mooney will be a free agent. Linebackers, they're usually pretty easy to come by. Divine Diablo was $7 million, and he looks like $100 million out there when as far as the difference that he's made. So you should be able to get some depth at linebacker in free agency and then maybe draft one ahead. I don't know. There's no draft picks. If I've got a second round pick that ends up being a top 45 pick, I want offensive tackle. I want wide receiver. I want corner. Those are, maybe, no, I'm okay on defensive line. I'm happy with the defensive line. I want that pick to go to one of those three positions. Then I've got a third. Don't think there's a fourth. And then is it fifth, sixth, or seventh, or you've got 2, 3, 4, and then you're missing your fifth? Let me double check on that one. Because right now the Rams would have the 12th overall pick. You've got a second, third, fourth, and you're missing your fifth. So second, third, fourth, and then 6th and 7th. With that first pick, I'm going best player, best prospect, the guy I like the best at either cornerback, wide receiver, or offensive tackle is where I would look. Phil says, when is Arthur Blank going to take accountability for the awful coaching appointments he's made over the last 5 years? He won't, but the best he can probably do is attempt to correct them. Have we seen anything out there to think that with enough time this turns around? I haven't. Maybe you have. I haven't. And I don't want to start next season with Raheem Morris as head coach right now. If it turns around, great. I'm not firing anybody until the season's over. Raheem Morris can finish this year. And you've got time. All right, here, listen. What's the record? 3-5. So you got 9 games. Show me. 9 games. Go 6-3. You started 6-3 and finished 3-5. All right, this time you started 3-5 and you finished 6-3. Go 6-3. Finish it off. Show me. Otherwise, no, I'd be making a change. Let me see. Ski says, what are you going to do about Tyler Warren? We have no linebackers that can cover him. He's a safety. He's basically a wide receiver too. Tyler Warren's so good. Does Billy Bowman come back? Speaking of guys, he's been out since he's missed 4 straight games. I don't know how much you can expect to get out of him, even if he is back. if I had to use one guy on him, of the guys that are available, I might put Jalen Walker on him. And, well, that takes Jalen Walker away from everything else that he does well. That's true. But if you can take Tyler Warren out of the Colts offense, it's worth it. I'll take a cancel out of Tyler Warren and Jalen Walker. The problem is Michael Pittman's really good. Jonathan Taylor right now is Offensive Player of the Year in the NFL, AFC for sure. So there's a lot of them out there. Okay, let me say thank you to some folks who came in and who came in with some super chats and support, because I'm about to get out of here. Dwan was one of those guys coming in nice and early. Mike Harvey doubled up for me on that one. Curtis Case as well. Jet Jones and Red Swarm doubled up also. And then Rusty Moore. Thank you, my friend. Hope you are having a good day. Just to remind you, I want to say thank you to my newest members, Devron Beard, Corky Alfred, and Dictator Jace are the newest members of the Falcons podcast. Salute to you. And if you want to become a member, it helps us out a lot, helps keep these lights on, keeps the forehead nice and shiny, and gets you some extra content during the week as well. Check the link in the description on YouTube to become a member of the Falcons podcast. Helps us out a lot. Garrett has not been doing Tuesdays lately, so the next time we will see you will probably be Wednesday morning. It will be post-trading deadline. Again, real quick, I'll give you the Twitter version of this. Guys, I think that should be on the trading block: Tyler Algier, David Onyemata, Leonard Floyd. I think did a hamstring. I don't think he's going anywhere. I don't think he'll be healthy enough to get traded. David Onyemata. Caden Ellis. Somebody should be on the phone with him, and for the right price, everybody's available. But I wouldn't want to trade Caden Ellis. But you've got to know if you can re-sign him. If you don't think you can re-sign him, you need to get something for him. If I can re-sign him, I'm re-signing him. But Caden Ellis, I'd be calling for Caden Ellis. I said Tyler Algier, Kirk Cousins, obviously. And then Arnold Ebiketie. I don't know that you can move him now because I think Leonard Floyd might be out for a couple weeks with that hamstring. When 30-plus-year-old guys go down with a recurring hamstring injury, you're not going to see them as often. And then you can't rely on them when they get back because that hamstring ends up being dodgy. So, trade deadline show, post-trade deadline. Unless something big happens, keep your alerts on, then we'll come back and do a gut reaction if something big happens over the next 24 hours. I just don't expect that to happen. The Falcons are not in a great position to be buyers, and I don't know that Terry can give up on this team right now. I think he needs to at least give it a shot to win to try and save his job. On that note, we're going to get out of here. I appreciate y'all being here. Thanks again, everybody. Y'all have a great rest of your day. We'll see you on Wednesday.